Hi, I'm Tina-Desiree Berg, and this week on Right Wing Insanity Report, we are going to be looking at a case coming out of Pennsylvania where a right-wing extremist murdered his father and posted video of this on YouTube, along with a manifesto. Going to be taking a deeper dive into that. And then also looking at the trucker convoy that is gathering at multiple locations on our border with Mexico and then headed to Texas to stand off with federal agents and whoever else. To discuss these topics, welcome back to the show, Eric Levai, investigative journalist. You've seen his work in many publications, Rolling Stone, Daily Dot, some others. But welcome back to the show, Eric. Glad to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. It's good to be here, Tina.
Right on, right on. So first off, let's talk about this crazy story that just happened the last couple of days down in Pennsylvania. Turns out this guy, though, has been sort of touting right-wing extremist anti-government thoughts for a long time. Obviously, he's quite unwell, though, because he murdered his father. That adds an extra level of crazy to the whole thing. And he's saying he murdered his dad because his dad was a federal employee, and he's basically calling war against the federal government and all federal employees. But, you know, my concern with this is, again, we're talking about a situation that's probably on the outlier of the spectrum, but we do have a general problem in the country where people are getting radicalized down conspiracy theory rabbit holes and being subjected to ever increasing levels of anti-government rhetoric in the, you know, kind of tunnel vision media areas that they are in, whether it's Telegram, some of the other social media sites like Rumble, whatnot. And there are very real consequences, I think, for this. And this is just, I think, an example of what we're looking at. What are your thoughts off the top on this whole thing?
Yeah, if people do choose to look into this story, like, please do not watch, I would not recommend watching that full video. You can obviously, like, there's versions that, like, I think you guys might play one where it's like, a little sanitized, which is very good. Or you can just, check out the coverage by NBC or whoever's writing about it. But yeah, it's a terrible thing. He appears to have there's definitely some kind of mental illness going on. But regardless, the point I was going to make was when I watched that, it was like it had so many far right talking points. I mean, it almost could have been written by like AI or something. It was crazy.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm sure you thought the same thing.
Yeah, no, it was all of them mixed into a hot soup. So in fact, let's take a little bit deeper look at the actual story so people can get a better idea in case they missed it this week. I want to bring up this Independent UK, even though it's the UK. They had, I thought, the best piece on this particular article because it talked about some of the underlying rhetoric. An online extremist stunned the nation with an unimaginably disturbing YouTube video in which he called to overthrow the federal government and held up the decapitated head of his father, according to Pennsylvania police. Justin Moan, 32, was taken into custody on 30th of January after allegedly beheading his 68-year-old father, Michael Moan, at their home in Middletown Township. He is facing charges of first-degree murder, abuse of a corpse, and possessing an instrument of crime with intent, according to a court filing. Soon after his arrest, Mr. Moan was linked to a YouTube video in which he was allegedly seen railing against the federal government and calling for violence to combat its treason. In the bone-chilling footage, he reportedly held up his father's head in a plastic bag as he condemned his 20 years working as a federal official. Here's what we know about his heinous case. Police said they responded to the scene after receiving a call of the deceased male. Denise Moan reportedly called 911 after finding her husband decapitated in their home. She said she was the last in the house at 2 p.m., and when she returned, she noticed her son and her husband's 2009 Toyota Corolla was nowhere to be found. Authorities said that when they were at the home at 7 p.m., Justin Moan had already left, driving off in his dad's car. They found Michael Moan in the first floor bathroom, the Bucks County District Attorney's Office wrote. He was found with a large amount of blood around him, the DA's office said. Authorities also discovered a machete and a kitchen knife in the bathtub. Officers also located the deceased male's head inside of a plastic bag, which was inside of a cooking pot in a first-floor bedroom next to the bathroom, police said to the outlet. Police also found bloody rubber gloves in both separate first-floor bedroom and in a trash can beside a desk. Mr. Moan was found hours later in Fort Indiantown Cap, Pennsylvania, more than 100 miles from his home, and taken into custody. I want to go down a little bit, scroll down to the article to talk about what was in the YouTube video. According to local outlets, including LevittownNow.com, Mr. Moan had displayed his father's head in the YouTube video where he aired a 14-minute politically charged rant. And I do have a copy of this video. I'm going to play some of the, not the gory stuff, obviously, but just some of his rants so people can understand what we're talking about here a little bit better. The video remained live on YouTube for 6 hours, according to reports. The Independent was not able to verify its authenticity directly, but local outlets reported that in the video, he bashed President Joe Biden, the Black Lives Matter movement, the LGBTQ community, and referred to his father as a traitor as he worked for the federal government for over 20 years. One of the things he said, the federal government of America has declared war on America's citizens and the American states. America is rotting from the inside out as the far left woke mobs rampage our once prosperous cities, turning them into lawless zones. Taxpayer dollars are printed and used for anything but the taxpayers with little to no accountability. You know, part of that is true. Oftentimes with these guys, they have a beef about, the bot Congress or corporate takeover of Congress, about income inequality in the country, things that are not being addressed by our current, whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans in power, So these things are definitely going on. But of course, they take it to these extreme levels, and they often blame people that aren't at fault for these problems. Taxpayer dollars are printed and used for anything but the taxpayer with little to no accountability, which has inflated the economy to near destruction and made it so most Americans can no longer afford the American dream. Again, this is true about the American dream, but the issue here is corporate profiteering, right? I mean, I suppose if you want to talk about the Federal Reserve to some extent in their association with that, we can. But I think the bigger underlying problem here is that people are suffering in economic perspective, and that's what's driving a lot of this far right extremism. I don't know, Eric, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, with this guy, I will say, like, it. Obviously, I don't want to praise a killer or anything like that. It seemed like what I mean by that is it seemed like he put some time into this, which is even more concerning because, like, in terms of like what police agencies or the FBI are most concerned about, usually it's like the call to action. And that's just really like very concerning, besides the obvious terrible crime here, is that this is going to now circulate forever. And eventually somebody is going to use this or reference it in their own killing, which is absolutely, and he knew that. I mean, we're doing our best here to give some critical, some thoughts on this, but even we are talking about this, right? And this guy knew that. So, yeah, I mean, it's terrible.
There was a militia aspect to the 14-minute rant video. He refers to what he calls Moan's militia, and there is absolutely a call to arms in the video for his followers to rise up against federal employees and kill them. So he actually does say some of that in his video. So you're right about that. And I think the bigger conversation that you're sort of pointing to is this kind of quote unquote terrorgram, which is the terrorist affiliated sites on Telegram. Oftentimes they call these individuals saints because of the acts of violence that they commit. And they do hold them up as, sort of martyrs to sort of, in a weird way, worship, right?
Yeah. I mean, it'll take some time to get more details on this guy, but no doubt he's going to have, I'm sure, have found out to be consuming 24/7 all this garbage, and probably have his own inspiration from various right-wing killers. So it's it's the same. I mean, this one was particularly terrible and gruesome, but basically it's the same guy over and over again. You always notice that. It's the same guy just over and over again. Same angry white guy. Yeah. This time he attacked a family member or killed a family member, but yeah.
I want to bring up something that I thought was interesting about this individual. He has actually sued the federal government over, believe it or not, unpaid student loans. How many people feel the pain of student loans that they can't pay back, where they took, hundreds of thousands of dollars out to go get a college education. Then they get a job. The job doesn't pay them enough to cover the, basic monthly payment on that, as well as rent and food. So they get angry and desperate. If you file for bankruptcy, your student loan stays with you. It doesn't disappear. So there are some very real consequences that are attached to this. So let's pull this up, Colin, so people can see it. This is Moan versus the United States. This is the same Justin Moan. Justin Moan, a 2014 graduate of Pennsylvania State University, returns for the fourth time pro se. Pro se, just so folks know, means that he's representing himself. He doesn't have an attorney. To sue the United States for allowing him to borrow money to attend college without advising him he may not find satisfactory work as an overeducated white man. Give me a break. Notice that he has to put that in there. The problem isn't that he's the white man that's overeducated. Give me a break, right? Overeducated white man, almost 10 years later, he essentially claims the United States lent him money which he needed to repay under a student loan contract beginning in late 2014. But this loan allowed him to get a college education, and he cannot find a satisfactory job as an overeducated white man to repay the loan. He seeks over $10 million from the United States. We dismissed his similar complaints 3 times, including a negligence claim. So there's a history of him doing this. So look, here's the thing. There's a really legitimate beef to be had about student loans out there. There absolutely is. It's not the one that he's making, that he's an overeducated white man and he can't find employment. But, again, I've said this in the past, I'll say it again. A lot of the times right-wing extremists latch on to very real problems that we can all recognize. It's their solutions that pose very, very serious problems and are often misguided because they're driven by, either racist beliefs, the othering kind of beliefs, anti-Semitism or things of this nature. What do you think about that student loan thing?
Yeah, it's possible he's what's called an injustice collector, which is a term that's sometimes applied to mass killers. But I'm sure you've heard of like people who are, that's what it sounds like. They're collecting these things in their head and then they explode. Yeah. It also sounds like, I'm obviously not a doctor or anything, but one of his roommates in one of the articles I read said he, it sounds like he could be like schizophrenic or one of these things. So like he's fairly coherent, but then he goes off on these, saying he's like God or that's the stuff where it's like, what's the story here with this guy? So I got you. He's clearly unwell a little bit.
Honestly, Eric, this is also another example of why we probably should not have gotten rid of our mental health, government-run mental health facilities. Maybe they needed reform. I agree with that. They could be reformed, right? There were things that were problematic there. But to upend it entirely was probably a big mistake, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was just going to say before, too, like so many things about this guy, like filing these lawsuits, it sounds like might have already been on. He said the FBI visited him once. I don't know if that's true, but this is like the classic person who's on the radar of like the Secret Service or the FBI, that lone angry person. And it's being able to try to stop them ahead of time, which is so difficult because unfortunately there's a lot of people like this.
Yeah, I agree. And you never know which one's going to lose their mind. Angry rhetoric doesn't always lead to violence. And we do, and constitutional rights we have, are very important. They should not be crossed in the effort to do that. But yeah, it is a real problem as we have more and more of these individuals out there. I think, one of the things we need to do in this country is address mental illness. We don't do it now. I think we need to address income inequality. We don't do it now. So there are things we can do that not necessarily relate to acts of domestic terrorism that would appease or lessen the inevitability of that, I think. Those are just 2 of them. I want to bring this up. He is also a self-published author of 7, by my count, ebooks. I wanted to show this one on screen. This has obviously been removed by Amazon now. But I have this in the Wayback Machine. So I want to pull this up. This is a book he wrote called America's Coming Bloody Revolution. I kind of had a laugh at this one, similar to Thomas Paine's Common Sense. I doubt that.
What did he say about common sense?
He said it's similar to Thomas Paine's Common Sense. His book is. That's a stretch, bro.
Yes, I was trying to think of something witty to say there, but there's a real when I was watching it too, there's a real sad part. Like there's just something, it was sad, some of that, watching that too. I could like feel it. I could really feel it. I was like, man, like this is in addition to being he should be held accountable for what he did, but it was very sad to watch that video.
Very sad. And his poor father, right? So again, this is where this guy's brain was at. And then I want to show a little clip of this. All right. So this is a 2-minute clip from his manifesto that was on YouTube. Obviously, I left anything gory out of here, but I wanted to let people hear what he had to say in his own words. I mean, basically, the 14 minutes includes QAnon conspiracy theories. He refers to illegal immigrants at the border as a fifth column, and it's going to be some kind of invasion. He complains about inflation. He offers up rewards, $1 million rewards or bounties, as he calls them, for Chris Wray, who is the head of the FBI, Justice Roberts, which I thought was kind of odd and interesting. Eric Garland is on his list. He's also pissed about defunding police. He blames defunding of police for crime increase, yet he also wants to kill every FBI agent that he comes across. I'm not sure where the disconnect is there. Can't have it both ways. He gives out Judge Kearney's address. Judge Kearney is the guy that dismissed his court case against the government. He gives out his home address in the middle of this thing and instructs people, to go after Judge Kearney. He wants the United States Post Office to suspend its connection to the federal government. He warns them that if they don't, they're going to be targeted. He recommends targeting journalists because they are going to lie about him anyway, ending the Federal Reserve. And at base, he also makes sort of a rant about us being a Judeo-Christian nation, which is, not necessarily true. We have separation of church and state here. Anyway, let's play this clip so people can hear some of this stuff in his own words.
My name is Justin Moan. I'm the commander of America's national network of militias, which you may know of as Moan's Militia. I now give the following order for all militia and patriots across the United States of America. All federal employees are to be killed on sight. All FBI, IRS, and other federal law enforcement offices, as well as federal courthouses, are to be sieged around the country. All federal agents, U.S. Marshals, federal judges, and Border Patrol are to be killed or else captured, tortured for information, and publicly executed for betraying their country. Earn your place in heaven by sending a traitor to hell early. I ask America's police, state National Guard, and military veterans to join your countrymen against the traitors in the federal government, unless you want to see Philadelphia and every other major city in America turn into a lawless zone like Portland and San Francisco. While we siege federal buildings and hunt down federal employees at their homes or anywhere else they may be hiding, I ask for local Pennsylvania and New Jersey militia to act as my personal security force and form a protective zone around me to kill any federal agent who attempts to arrest or kill me. Governor Shapiro and other state governors are not to be harmed unless they intervene. The federal government is the enemy, not the state government. If I am captured or killed, do not give up. This is America and our freedoms we are fighting for. This is our children's futures we are fighting for. Joe Biden is no longer in power. I am now officially the acting president of America under martial law. If Joe Biden does not abdicate, then capture him and bring him to me in Pennsylvania.
Okay, so he's declared himself president. Yeah. I'm sorry, I have to laugh at that. But notice there's a real disconnect, too, between what he considers to be local law enforcement, like sheriffs, local law enforcement, police departments, whatnot, and federal law enforcement. The federal law enforcement is his enemy. The local law enforcement, I guess, is not.
I was going to say, too, Donald, like it's not funny, but Donald Trump declared himself president when he lost, too. It's like, yeah, it's like hard to ignore that. Like, really, like the guy in the bedroom to this person with much more power. It's crazy.
They want to upend democracy, and they're doing it in the name of saying my freedom. That's what kills me. There's just a real disconnect between the things that they say they want, like protection of the Constitution, protection of civil liberties for, all individuals, whatnot, and what they actually, do, right? They want fascism, I think, in a way. Anyway, I thought this was a very disturbing story. I unfortunately don't think it's going to be the last time we see something like this, because I see a real uptick in this kind of, extremist rhetoric just out in the open all over social media at this point.
Yeah. It's unfortunate with this one. I think he was, obviously, again, I don't want to offer praise. He appears to be smarter than some of these people. And he he put some time into this, and fortunately the reaction right now on the radical right, which is fairly common now, is just they're just like not really paying attention to it. But next time, who knows?
Yeah. All right, now I want to turn to what's happening at the border. Last week on the show, I covered what was going on in Texas with federal agencies and Texas state agents in response to SCOTUS decision to uphold Biden as the federal government as the authority here at the border. And now, Abbott is saying we're not going to comply with the SCOTUS decision, and others are chiming in. What that has now led to is a gathering in San Diego, San Ysidro. You and I are going to head down there tomorrow to cover some of this. Yuma, Arizona, and of course in Texas. And then on the East Coast, others are gathering to come down. They're all going to converge into Texas. I don't know what's going to happen then. It could be bad. It could be just silliness. Who knows? But I do think there is an element of right-wing militias joining in on this. Definitely some of the usual right-wing extremists that we've seen, like the Proud Boys and whatnot. I know you've been following this story. What are some of your thoughts on this?
Yeah. The last I saw there, I think an article came out today. I think it might be by Tess Owen, that there's definitely
Vice.
Yeah, exactly. Some militias coming down. So I mean, I put down some words about it as well that I'm trying to see what to do with that. But there's been a ton of hilarity. Don't get me wrong, and I'm happy to talk about it, like a clown show for sure. But that said, like when large groups of people who are declare they're going to be, they want some of them, more than a few probably, want to be armed and want to converge and do this kind of thing, it's always very scary. So yeah, that's it.
No, I agree with that. You're going to have, this is a kind of a mess though, because here you have, DHS involved because they oversee ICE and some of the other things having to do with the border. You have Border Patrol obviously involved, federal. In Texas, you're going to have state troopers. This has potential to be really explosive, especially when you add the mix of right-wing militia. I agree. But let's look at first, before we get into that, let's look at the announcement video that was on Rumble. It's being referred to as Take Our Border Back Convoy. So let's play this short clip that I got off of Rumble so people can see what they're saying.
Yeah.
Now, this convoy is comprised of freedom-loving Americans who just want to shine light on the darkness that is trying to surround us right now. Spread some disinfectant. There's too many atrocities that are happening right now at our border because of these policies. Atrocities like human trafficking, child trafficking, the horrors that go along with that. All the drugs, fentanyl, other substances coming across this border, killing children, loved ones. Needs to be stopped. We need to protect this nation from bad actors that want to come here and do harm. That's why we have legal points of entry. We all lock our doors. We all vet who comes into our homes. Just a matter of protection. We love the people in Mexico. We love all immigrants. What this nation was founded on. It's not about that. It's not about race, not about color. It's about law and order.
Okay, I'm calling bullshit on that right off the top to say that it's not, we love Mexico, we love our immigrants, it's not about that. It is though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually surprised that he even put that in there. That's also just a strange video. I remember like it dropped like really, like it came out really early in the morning, and I was like, is this guy like,
is he awake?
Yeah, I was like, is he tired? Like what's because there's a virtual background, right? So I'm like,
right.
Are his kids, his family like sleeping? Like what's the problem back there?
He needs some coffee. Yeah, it goes on for 22 minutes of this. It's quite boring actually.
That's worse than the guy who killed his father video. Like I'm like half joking, but like that video is only 14 minutes. Like,
right. Yeah, 22 minutes of this. You know, the other thing I notice about all of these videos too, they target certain things that also happen here in the United States. Like fentanyl would be a prime example of the Sackler family. Fentanyl comes from the United States. This was an American pharmaceutical that got a lot of people hooked and has been very bad for the country. The Sackler family lied about it not being addictive. You know, there's a whole case history here that is often ignored because the cartels are also dealing fentanyl now, right? But my thing is like, okay, so let's just have a conversation about fentanyl, because I don't think this has to do with immigration per se. It's a problem. Yeah, it's a drug problem. It's a public health problem. But again, instead of, you know, and here's, let me say this. The other problem I think, Eric, that is never discussed is the fact that it's very hard for immigrants to get into the country legally at this point. We've pretty much closed all those avenues down. Asylum seeking is very difficult. Most of the time, these things take months and months and months to happen. Because of the law that Trump put in, people were, instead of waiting for asylum hearings here, they're sent back to Mexico. You know, I don't need to rehash everything that's happened the last few years, but it's very hard for people to get into the country legally. So when they say things like that, I kind of roll my eyes too. It's like, we don't have a rational conversation about immigration at this point anymore. And most of these folks, I'm sorry to say what this guy is saying is wrong. They do care about immigration. They don't want immigration here. And in fact, if they had a way to like deport people that got here legally that are of groups that they don't like, they would deport them, I think.
yeah, I guess he got one thing right in there. He said something like, this is a nation of immigrants, whether he believes that,
Right.
but or not. Yes, like this is a nation of immigrants. People should, like, yes, in a perfect world, everyone would come through this like organized, system. But it's like, how many times do we have to go over this? That these people are coming from places where they would do that if they could. And
exactly.
This administration, it's been extremely disappointing that they've continued some of these policies, and unbelievably, actually, they're at least building some of that Trump wall. Like whatever that, I couldn't believe that. Like,
yeah, no, Biden didn't get rid of Title 42 the first 2 years of administration, a Trump policy.
Like, you want to lose an election, do stuff like that. That's gonna. Yeah, I mean, it's very concerning, actually.
It is concerning, yeah. So that is the problem. We don't have a rational conversation in the federal government about immigration at this point, period. The recent immigration bill that some of these Republicans are refusing to pass because Trump wants it to be part of his policy is a terrible bill for immigration, actually. The Republicans, if they paid any attention to what was in this bill, would probably like it. It gives them a lot of what they want. But this is, to me, just an example, Eric, of how the Overton window has really shifted in the country, right? That has been a success of the alt-right, is to have that. That was one of their goals, and I think that they did succeed in that.
It's an absolute disgrace. I mean, it's a disgrace that people trying to come here to save their own lives and their families have to hear this, have to be treated like this. And I come here any way you can. Like, I get it. We need a system. I understand that. But I'm also a realist. Like, if you're fleeing a place where you're going to be literally killed, what would those people in the convoy do as they're snacking up at Buc-ee's or whatever? Are you kidding me? Like,
yeah, I agree. It's crazy. It's just irrational. In Vice this morning, I want to take a look at this article from Tess Owen. The God's Army Convoy says militias can join, but no big guns, please. The fact that they have to say no big guns, please, tells you there's probably going to be big guns or guns, right? Organizers of the convoy have tried to distance themselves from extremist elements, but their own militia connections are making it hard. The God's Army Convoy making its way to the southern border is definitely not a militia and wants absolutely nothing to do with militias or other extremists, except that is for the militias and extremists who are joining up with the convoy and the organizers who have extensive ties to militias and the Patriot movement. On Wednesday, someone identifying themselves as a member of the Nebraska Constitutional Militia announced on the convoy's channel on Zello, a walkie-talkie app, that they'll be at the border this weekend. We're there to support you guys. Any help you guys need, let us know, they said, adding that they intend to stay peaceful. John Waltz, a candidate for the Nebraska House, announced on his social media that he's joining up with the Nebraska Constitutional Militia and will convene with convoys for rallies this weekend. There's a copy of his tweet. Excited to visit Texas-Mexico border this weekend with the Nebraska Constitutional Militia. I believe all states should collaborate to combat the invasion. There's no invasion. It's like the rhetoric they choose to use is like
they're invading Texas.
Right.
That's the invasion. These people are coming. That's the invasion. Like, give me a break.
Right, exactly. Joining some trucker convoy rallies on Saturday, leaving from York, Nebraska on Friday morning. Another person on Zello indicated that a militia from California was planning to join the convoy. The militia in question did not respond to Vice News requests for comment. Someone else on the channel identified themselves as a member of the 3% militia group and asked if it was still okay for him to join up. I actually did read that post myself. I know who that is. We'll leave that for later. Although organizers previously described themselves not militia friendly, they've changed their tune a bit. One of the admins for the Zello channel said that it was fine for militias to come, but only if they remained peaceful. They added that sidearms were welcome, but said militia members should plan to leave their guns in their vehicles during Saturday's rally. Organizers have also asked people to leave their long guns at home. Militia and extremist involvement is just the latest development in the potential slow-rolling PR nightmare convoy organizers have been scrambling to prevent this week. 6 Patriot World influencers organized the convoy over a month ago, weeks before simmering tensions between Texas and the Biden administration erupted into a standoff and drove intense interest in the convoy. Those organizers seem to be doing what they can to distance themselves from any possible messiness, such as violence or bad optics, that could unfold at the border in the days or even the weeks ahead. That's true. I don't think this will be over on Saturday, right?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely not.
They've been trying to temper expectations, repeatedly stating, for example, that the convoy is not going to the border. Instead, they say it will rally at the Cornerstone Children's Ranch, a 10-acre private property in Quemato, 20 miles from Eagle Pass, which is the epicenter of the standoff. Organizers plan to hold a spiritual revival on Saturday. Some convoy participants have expressed confusion and disappointment over the location and planned activities. I would love to see 1 million Americans show up at the border and link arms, but that's just me. Streamer, wait for it, Oreo Express said on their live stream on Thursday. Oreo Express is a guy from California. Nobody associated with this convoy is going to Eagle Pass, period, said Kim Yeater, one of the organizers on Zello on Wednesday. There is no desire to conflict with the National Guard or interrupt their operations or anything. I'm not sure that that's true.
I mean, their entire social media says they're going to Eagle Pass. So, I mean,
that's right.
One thing that may help the safety of this country regarding this convoy is that they're so poorly organized. You know, that's a good thing in this case. They're very poorly organized. They're one hand, you know, whatever that expression is, right, doesn't know what the other one's doing, or et cetera. Like, so we don't even know. I don't know where the San Ysidro rally is. Like, you know, it's great to have.
It keeps moving around.
But no one. Yeah. Okay.
Hopefully we'll find it, right? It keeps moving around. Eric, you know, another thing that I saw on one of their telegrams is they're actually talking about perhaps heading over to one of the detention sites, meaning these are areas where migrants are camping out. I think that would be very bad.
Yeah. That's terrible. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if they do that, that's just like, I've seen that before. I've seen that happened in like Staten Island. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure they would love to do that. But hopefully that won't happen.
Hopefully that won't happen, but I think it's something some of them have discussed. It wouldn't surprise me if some of them try to do that on Saturday. I guess we'll see. Let's turn now to a couple of videos that you sent me that I think are kind of hilarious. The first one, I think, was taken on the East Coast. Am I right?
Yep. Yeah. I sent you over a couple. That one I think is day one of the convoy. I mean, I can give you a preface so you guys can just enjoy the comedy of that.
Okay, let's go ahead and play that.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, he just deterred us. He just pivoted away from it. No? What is it? Okay.
Ashley Babbitt!
Remember her name. Say her name.
Yes. Who's going with us now? Okay.
Murdered by the
right over here about the
Metro
protocols,
Police.
procedures.
Ashley Babbitt. Never forget her.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
So that-
hilarious.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, so that actually, that was I was thinking of the other video. Yeah, that was a different night. That was like night 2 or whatever. But yeah, that's on the last show when I was on, and we talked about the Freedom Corner, the people that hang outside the DC jail. They're January 6th apologists. So that's them. And they tried to, yeah, they're on the Convoy because that's what it is. It's just recycling the same people, the same grifters trying to get paid, you know, especially with the streaming. So anyway, they tried to get this Ashley Babbitt shit, but the chant going, but the other people there were like, they're there for this.
What? Yeah.
So yeah, it was hilarious. It was like, no, like you got.
Yeah, nobody wanted to chant. It was like, why do we want to chant that?
Yeah, like you can see their faces. They're like, yeah.
They're like, no.
Cool.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. Okay, so the next we're talking about is when they're trying to do donuts, I guess, in the parking lot. Let's play that clip.
That's night 1. Yeah.
That's night 1. Okay.
Yeah.
What? Nothing.
Well, they're coming over. They're probably going to tell us we got to go.
Really? Yeah. Oh, they're coming?
Yeah.
Talbot. Chief Talbot.
Good evening, guys. How's it going?
I got the reports of you guys circling around in the parking lot, honking your horns. This is private property. The conduct is not allowed here. I've been told to ask you guys to go ahead and leave our property.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry. Oh, my gosh. Okay.
What's going on?
I was told to ask you guys to leave the property because the conduct you guys are displaying, honking your horns, circling around in the parking lot.
Are you serious? We're not trying to.
We have seen each other.
I understand.
We're not doing it again.
There's a small lot up there that is off of our property where you won't have us bother you anymore.
Okay.
It's right there before the hotel.
Ah.
That is right off of our property.
Already?
We won't bother you. It's all your fault.
And it changes nothing because we're still going to have an awesome night. That
Yeah, we
already?
apologize.
Absolutely. Already?
Wait, we're making friends everywhere.
Dude,
We're not allowed to hang out anymore.
Hey,
We're in trouble.
just call me most hated.
Remember what I said to you? It's a private property. They can't do.
They can do that. Why were they doing donuts in the first place?
Yeah. I mean, that's a very fair question. It's funny. It's sad. It's tragic. These are grown people. I assume they have families.
They look like they could be grandparents, some of them.
Yeah. I mean, doing donuts in a dark parking lot. I guess it is what it is. That's the Convoy, right?
Eric and I traveled down to San Ysidro, California, which is on the border of San Diego and Mexico, to cover a group that was gathering there for a rally. They eventually traveled to Yuma, Arizona, and then down into Texas as part of the convoy.
Good morning. I'm here today just to use my voice, exercise my First Amendment right, and stand up for what's right in this country. Stand up for our Constitution.
I run an activist group called Stop the Poop, and I advocate very strongly. I'm also a United States International Boundary and Water Commission Citizens Forum Board member. I advocate against the toxic chemical, raw sewage, and trash onslaught from the country of Mexico into the United States via the Tijuana River right here. And it's just one component of a war we're fighting along this border to take our border back that has been overran. We are under invasion, and we're just making a stand here today with patriots and like-minded folks, true red-blooded Americans, all nationalities, all colors, all creeds, to stand here in the southwestern corner of the continental United States and take our border back.
And are you going to be headed to Arizona?
We're going to Arizona and then to Texas.
Oh, and then on to Texas.
Yes.
And then what's going to happen in Texas?
We're going to block the border, I hope.
Okay.
And this is what I called it. And they called me crazy at first. Now everybody's on board with this. I called it an environmental and biological terrorist attack on the people of the United States from the country of Mexico. There is every toxin known to man in that water that comes through. And if I check my river gauge right now, I'll tell you, it's probably right now the flow is over 50 million gallons a day. Right now, that's the flow rate. And it's been higher due to the rains. But they have trash, raw sewage, toxic chemical contamination, tires, everything they can throw at us, toxic medical waste. Their pharmaceuticals, their pesticides, everything is in that water. The Mexican government knows what's in that water. They don't care about their own people, so they definitely don't care about the United States of America. And when they know what's in that poison water and let it come into the United States, that's an act of terrorism and it's an act of war.
I'm in the assembly for New California State, founded by Paul Preston, and he's the president, CEO, founder. He's on the radio, AENN, Red State Radio. You can go to our website, newcalifornia.com, and find out more information. New California is a state in creation according to the Constitution. Article 4, Section 3 of the Constitution is the only way you can create a state. We're not part of Jefferson. We're not secessionists. We're actually going to...
Let me interrupt you there, just because I have a question. Are you referring to state of Jefferson, so like Northern California, that group up there?
Yeah, we have nothing to do with that. And
good point to clarify.
We're not secessionists.
Okay.
We are creating a state under Republican form of government. We're a 501c4. We formed January 15th of 2018, and we should become a state this year. We have delegates in Washington right now dealing with the House of Representatives, and then after that it goes to Congress. It's dealing with Congress, then it'll go to the president. We're timely right now because California is $63 billion in debt. It can't even pay the teachers. People are going to start getting warrants pretty soon. They can't do any infrastructure. New California, they haven't had an audited budget in 4 years either. So New California State is going to build 6 new dams that have already been approved. We're going to generate the economy that's going to be probably the busiest economy in the United States. People are going to move to
So where exactly are you looking to take part of the existing state of California and break it into a new state, or how does that work?
The yellow part.
Oh, I see. Can you zoom in on that?
Sacramento, San Francisco, and LA is old California. That's 20 million people. That's a lot of people in there. The rest is only 19 million, the rural parts. We represent the rural parts, farmers, ranchers, people that want water and low-cost electricity. So we're going to build we're going to have an infrastructure that's going to rival any other state.
Make our future safe. Take back our borders.
You have the nerve to complain about people crossing borders. Then you're talking about the nerve to complain about people crossing borders. You have the nerve to complain about the little girl who has drowned in the Rio Bravo. Yeah, learn some history, because you people that's why you want to stop CRT, because you don't want to know no history about the U.S. They're founded on slavery and genocide. That's what the U.S. was founded on, and nobody should respect a country that was founded on slavery and genocide. Nobody should respect a country that invades so many other countries like the U.S. does.
The real fascists, the real communists, we know exactly who you are, RevCom. The border is 4 miles away. Cross it and stay there. The border is 4 miles away. Cross it and stay there. We don't need you people here, you communists. We know exactly who you are.
This is our land. Throughout every age, every piece of dirt people have died for. They have died to keep that dirt. The American people have died. Our forefathers, our grandfathers died in wars to keep this ground sacred. It is our turn now. We have to hold this ground because it is ours.
So let's just say, my name is Joe Kent. I am running for Congress in Washington's 3rd Congressional District. I came here to stand with all of you because every town in the country, including where I'm from in Washington State, is a border town. The fentanyl that enters our country right behind us at this border crossing point, it makes its way up the I-5 corridor, and it is killing my friends, it's killing our neighbors. And my Democrat opponent says with a straight face that no one loses any sleep at night over the open southern border. I beg to differ because I speak with people just like the folks we heard from here who lost their children, who lost their loved ones from this fentanyl that is poisoning our communities. And it is an absolute atrocity. Uh-oh, get the flag. There we go, we're good now. I'll just hang on to this, how about that? That's why we're all out here. So I get asked all the time, hey, is it just incompetence? Why would the Democrats do this? Don't they know the border's wide open? This is nothing short of an unconventional warfare operation that is being waged against the people. I spent 20 years in the Army as a Green Beret, fought overseas. This is unconventional warfare. The Democrats have one goal, and our enemy has a goal as well. The Democrats want to pump as many human beings into this country as they possibly can. They don't care who they are or where they're from. They want to bring them into the country, put them into major urban areas so they can use them during the census to count heads, and therefore they'll be able to get more legislative seats at the state level, the county levels, and then all the way up into the U.S. House of Representatives.
I've watched what happens after a military person goes into transition into civilian life. And right now I wear a little rubber thing on my right wrist every single day, every single show I do. And it says 22 a day. Does anybody know what that number is? What is it? We're losing, it says 22. Guess what? The number's actually closer to 40 right now. Veterans that are taking their own lives because they feel neglected and ignored.
Last but not least, no puberty blockers or sex change operations for the children. No more, no more. Otherwise, little Johnny could be Jane on your tax dollars. Big shout out to our truckers. Yes, they are delivering the most beautiful package, protecting our freedom today.
Because they have border walls, they have security measures, and guess what? They had a breach in security. And I come home and I realize we have open borders. We are sitting ducks here. And what they did to Israel, they are planning it right here. So it is up to us, we the people. You know, our Constitution is the supreme law of the land. The Biden administration has broken that pact. They have undermined the Constitution and the American people. So it's time for us to take our border back, to take our nation back.
Going down. Are you happy that your money goes to facilitate human trafficking, drug trafficking, and all of the likes? Right? And is it okay for them to consider us a criminal if we're trying to stop criminal activity from happening? Right? So I went down and I was doing a homeless count. It's a point in time count where you can count the homeless in the county. And I did it last year, and this year I went and there was more people, which was interesting. And then going by a church, the Church of the Nazarene, Luke, who's sitting up there, and I went. And if we didn't go about 2 feet further than we went, we wouldn't have seen the jackpot of illegals getting transported. And they were using a school, an elementary school, the Central Elementary School. It's an SD-USD school district school. And when I go on the property, they're following these men that are military age, who could potentially get into the military because, right, if we don't have our own that want to join it, why can't they? Right, because they're going to protect our country. It's not like the U.S. hasn't had their hands in everything, right? Causing people distress. And so when these people come across, I don't think that they want to protect America like we do. But how is it that we can see them going across into this gate? Ask what's happening, because it's our money that is being spent doing it, and they want to call the police because it's illegal, right? How can I go to a board meeting at the city of the county of San Diego and redress my own government, which is a First Amendment right, and be arrested and also assaulted by an officer, right? Because it's illegal to do that. But then we can allow these people to come across. Over 80,000 have come into San Diego. It's way more than that. Homeland Security told those sheriffs, we got the money. You want to get paid, then you don't deputize your sheriffs. That's the wickedness that goes on behind the scenes. Okay, we cannot let the federal government be buying us out with their money. Okay, we need to put everybody in their rightful place. Remember, it's God and it's country. And we got to protect our babies for sure. Guys, thank you so much. Let's give them a hand. Thank you for being a stand for truth. We're going to release you guys back. Woo, 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 woo. Moving. Where is the clown? Moving.
I got my gators ready, and I'm ready to help him drain that swamp. Once upon a time, we had a transgender move into a property that I managed. Eventually, it turned into a safe house for their community. Being gay myself, I got to know them well. Most of the transgenders refused cross-sex hormones, and all of them kept their nuts and bolts. My point to all kids out there who think that they are transgender, your body is perfect. Just the way it is. It's perfect. Growing up is tough, but again, your body is perfect. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been called transphobic because I know that kids 12 years old cannot consent to becoming sterilized, let alone a lifelong big pharma patient. What can you do? Monitor your kids on their internet intake. Ask them, is your teacher wondering what your pronouns are?
You can catch the full coverage of that day on the District 34 Patreon. It's free to join. Eric, let's get back to our conversation, though, and how all of these elements are feeding into a kind of a far-right anti-immigration sentiment in the country.
People have the right to seek asylum here. They have the right to come here. I wish we had a better system that should be addressed. But just to repeat again, it is disgraceful that people want to go out there and put this sort of stuff out there, because all they're thinking is, I didn't catch any Native Americans there. If I'm wrong, someone can send me. No, everybody came from somewhere is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's an absolute disgrace what's happened in this country regarding the way people are looking at immigration.
Yeah, I agree with you. My parents are immigrants. So let's scroll down here to our next and favorite part of the show, Right-Wing Insanity Roundup. This is always the fun part where we look at videos that have come out the last couple of weeks that caught my eye. This one is kind of scary, not so funny. This is a Christian nationalist preacher, and he thinks God is going to start killing FBI agents. Let's go ahead and play this clip.
And so I want to say to my friends in the FBI, keep doing it, because death is about to execute a no-knock warrant on you. He's going to invade your domicile, this body, and take you out of it. And when he does, you're going to stand before God. And it's not going to be pleasant. You're going to see the love of God, but it's only going to be for a fleeting second. When God's finished with you, he will send you to your eternal destination, eternal hell.
Okay, so we could have a debate on no-knock warrants and that whether they're good or bad. I would say that they're bad and we shouldn't have them. Let's table that discussion. What is he talking about? God is going to do a no-knock warrant on them and kill them? This is a crazy clip to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess like my reaction is like, okay, like you're like all you did was like probably put yourself on some FBI list. Like they're gonna
exactly.
That stuff goes to the top of the list.
Right.
It always does.
Right.
The threats to the agency go right to the top. And even if he's towing that line real carefully where he's not going to get like necessarily a door knock, it's like.
But
okay.
Eric, how deranged are Christian nationalists in this country at this point that they actually think saying something like that makes sense? I mean,
yeah.
For what reason does God want to kill FBI agents? That's my question.
Yeah. I I'm like, do I want to hear the rest of what this guy had to say? But it has to do with the usual, black helicopters. I'm sure January 6th is in there.
Yes, of course.
So that's been one of the biggest changes. The former member back the blue. That's all over now. Not that it ever actually. It was never actually a thing, but just when they thought that they had the power of the state behind them, they didn't care if the state crushed somebody. Then they realized that not everybody is down with that. So now it's like not really back to blue.
Right. No, I agree with you. So I always say this, that these guys don't want a law enforcement that applies laws universally at all. They never have. They want Pinochet's army. They want law enforcement to do their bidding. And that is very dangerous. That is the definition of fascism, in my opinion. Yeah. I want to turn to this little clip that talks about, again, this is how deep we are in Trumpville again, 2024. He's, obviously winning the primaries. If it's not just about Trump, though, it's his policies, right? If you don't accept Trump's policies, you're a rhino and you're gone. You're gone from the GOP. Let's play this clip.
This is a true change for the Republican Party. It says that not only do we support President Trump, we support his policies. And any Republican that isn't willing to adapt these policies, we are completely eradicating from the party. So it's up to Nikki Haley what she does.
So here's the thing, Eric. I would have thought Nikki Haley to be pretty extreme right-winger previously.
Right. Yeah.
The fact that she looks more moderate and centrist in this environment is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean, and using words like eradicated and all this stuff is, it contributes to this tension and all these problems that we have. It's how they use language, eradicate from the party, or is that what you were saying? Because the undercurrent there is clearly
more violent,
like something else. So
they use a lot of violent rhetoric.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's members of that party. I mean, they tried to. I mean, you saw what happened at the Capitol. We talked about it on the last time. So I mean, it's. Yes, in any other world, Nikki Haley would be a far, hard right conservative, but not hard right enough. They're always competing with each other too. That's another dangerous thing. It's like that's what fascism is, right? Who's the most fascist? Is it me? Is it you? Like you have lunch with a Democrat, you're out, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it definitely ratchets it up, to the next level each time. Right. I wanted to play this particular clip because it sort of encapsulate what's going on with this truck convoy as well. Let me just play it and then we'll talk about it.
On top of that, the UN just presented a plan giving $1.6 billion to 17 Latin American countries, partially in the form of prepaid debit cards for migrants. Now, the UN gets 20% of its budget from us, so we're actually paying the migrants to come here. And what do you know? Suddenly, the U.S. had roughly 10 million new contestants that decided we're the one. Which is why it's about time to replace the Statue of Liberty's torch with a can of pepper spray. Metaphorically, it's an analogy, not literally. I don't think they make them that big. Because the White House has turned the Statue of Liberty into a $10 waterfront hooker. No surprise, takes progressivism to its inevitable endpoint. You don't get paradise, you get chaos. No person is illegal, everyone is welcome. That sounds great in my hot tub until the entire nation of Bolivia shows up. Then it sounds great.
This is so upsetting to me on so many levels, right? Here this guy is trying to make something sound funny, but it's not funny at all. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. That is what the Statue of Liberty says. That is what it's supposed to represent for the country. And we're going to put a pepper spray in our hand instead of the torch. So much for liberty. Yeah. I mean, this is so foul. It's not even funny. And this is Fox News. This is the kind of stuff that Fox News airs on the regular.
Yeah. I mean, that's why the big takeaway I was always saying for people watching this show or people following this problem is that, I mean, I don't want to put too much of a fine point on it, but Gutfeld or Gut, whatever his last name is, I forget, the failed, comedian guy.
Yeah.
They fundamentally, they want to kill everyone. Like I mean, he's saying it right there. He's
saying it right there.
Telling
Yeah.
you what he wants. They say he's saying it. So just remember that when you come out to vote and when you're active in your community, they're not hiding it.
No, they're not hiding it. But what kills me is so often you hear these individuals saying they love our country, they love our constitutional rights, they love the freedom that the country was founded on. But they don't. If this is the kind of stuff they're saying now, they're missing the entire damn point.
Yeah, they love a country that doesn't exist, and this has been coming to a head for a long time as this country became more. This country's got its problems, don't get me wrong, but as it became more inclusive, more accepting, progress is often it's slow, but it has gone in the right way, and I think in this country, and very slow going, and so as this was always going to happen, it was always going to come to a head that group, they see this, and rather than try to embrace it or at least, I don't know, work with it, this is what happens. This was inevitable, no question about it.
So it's very reactionary.
Yeah, exactly. A much better word than my ramble. And we're not going back. That's the thing. They want to take us back. We're not going back.
Right.
That's just not going to happen. So, it is what it is, I guess.
No. And it really, I mean, immigration isn't even like they make it sound like it's at some old time high and that we're letting all these people in, which is just the opposite is true. That's not, look at the data, right? It's just not true. Anyway, I thought it was really offensive. Apparently he thinks it's funny to put, pepper spray or bear mace in the can and get rid of the torch, which is crazy to me. That's just upending what America is on so many levels. Don't tell me you love this country. Don't tell me you love this country if that's the kind of thing you say. You miss the point of what this country is.
It's pathetic, actually. I mean, I can see why he never made it in comedy. I mean, it was absolutely pathetic to see that.
Yeah, I agree. And the canned laughter in the background was like, chef's kiss.
You need the canned laughter because it's not funny.
Exactly, it's not funny. I want to turn now to this clip of Matt Schlapp and Steve Bannon talking about the E. Jean Carroll defamation verdict, because once again, it shows how these guys believe that Trump is always the victim. He never has to be accountable for anything he says or does. They never discuss his wrongdoings. It's always that he's a victim in the way they frame things. So let's take a look at this.
First, you're here for CPAC. Understand you're pressed for time. Give me your thoughts on E.J. Carroll defamation suit against President Trump in the border, sir.
Look, this is outrageous, as I think people are beginning to grasp. Once a formerly great state of New York, where both my parents were born and raised, once they fully embrace this woke, Marxist, fascist nonsense, you're not going to get justice. And this has nothing to do with settling any kind of grievance. This has to do with taking all the ready cash that Donald Trump might have and taking it away from him so he can't continue to be a candidate for president. And I believe this is a very coordinated thing. Somebody must be coordinating this, because we now know that the White House counsel met with the boyfriend of Fawny down there in Georgia. The White House counsel's office seems to be a part of much of this. We know that DOJ has been running point for the Hunter Biden defense team and trying to give him sweetheart deals. And all this is about stopping Donald Trump. Now, how is all of that not campaign expenditures? This is like the Russian collusion dossier, which was a Hillary Clinton DNC deal.
All right. So this is insane to me. Number one, he did something wrong. He sexually assaulted her, then he defamed her. Notice they never bring that up. No actual conversation about the fact that he's receiving punishment for something he did. They're now going to make him a martyr, say he's a victim, and saying that this is the United States government and their vast conspiracy of God knows whatever Marxist, what did he say? Woke fascist Marxist, which is just completely nonsense. That's cognitive dissonance. Are, just trying to stop Trump from running for president.
Yeah. I mean, and I mean, Matt Schlapp is it's, I don't know if interesting is the right word, but I mean, that's someone who has his own problems. He's been incredibly. My understanding is from reading some recent articles is that there's some allegations against him as well that are relevant to that conversation. So I don't know. I found the whole thing a little bit strange, to be honest.
Very strange. But again, you know, this group never wants to be accountable for anything they do. It's always, we're the martyrs, we're the victims, right? Which is really bothersome. Yeah. All right. That is all I've got this week on Right Wing Insanity. So, you know, we'll be down at the border. We'll keep everybody posted here with what happens next week. Eric, any parting thoughts?
No, it was a great conversation. Sorry, I had to. FedEx is delivering a guitar I'm very excited about, so sorry I had to step out there for a sec. Just that it's great that we can have this conversation, and it's tough times in media right now, so it's really important that Status Coup and similar organizations can continue to put out some independent thoughts, because that's what this country is all about. That's all I would say.
Indeed. And in fact, if you aren't a member, please consider becoming a member of Status Coup. That is how we fund not only this program, but all of our on-the-ground reporting. You know, we're back in East Palestine this week, and obviously John's been out covering the Palestinian Israel protests, and we want to continue doing that. So $5 a month, you can become a member, and that goes entirely into supporting our programming and on-the-ground reports. So please consider doing that. Again, thanks for joining us today. I'm Tina-Desiree Berg. Have a fabulous weekend.